I have been writing for last 30 years. There are certain lessons that I've learned I'm going to share with you in this video so that you don't have to go over the same mistakes and learn the same things that I've already learned. I've been a career writer for about 20 years now. I started my career as a journalist. I first wrote for newspapers for a bit. I wrote for a magazine, an environmental magazine. Then I did a lot of freelancing for several publications in India. I wrote for international publications, agencies like Thomson Reuters Foundation. I traveled quite a bit to write cover stories for magazines. I wrote stories that have won awards, that have been nominated for some seriously prestigious awards like Ramnath Goenka in India. And I've had stories that have had millions and millions of reads, views that have gone viral, that have been shared globally by audiences in the UK and the US. I've also had stories that were killed. Once I was commissioned a story and they did not publish it, they did not like what I had written. I have gone through some seriously critical feedback from some of the most reputed editors in India and internationally. I have also written stories for a subscription publication that did not just care about views and who reads them and if they're critically something that one should value, but they also wanted every story to be so valuable and so well written that when a person sees it, they read the first sentence, they read the headline, they read a little bit of what in journalism we call a strap, and they are inclined to subscribe to the publication in order to access that story. And that subscription obviously comes at a cost. So, stories that make people want to pay their money, open their wallet, those are the kind of stories I wrote for about 8 years in story format, in investigative pieces format, in data journalism formats. And finally, I wrote a newsletter for about 3 years, which had a dedicated audience. I engaged with them. They looked forward to the weekly newsletter, which I wrote on storytelling. So I've been doing this forever, and I have gone through several ups and downs in this journey of writing. Why am I sharing all of this with you? I'm sharing this because right now, every single person is a media person. If you exist in the world and you're communicating with the world, you're spreading your message, you cannot avoid the media. It could be social media, it could be traditional media, it could be marketing, branding, campaigning, selling. But what I've seen is that sooner than later, people are coming to the lessons that journalists have learned over decades of institutional writing and publishing that build trust with the audience, that build credibility. And one of the questions I've been asked a lot, like one thing that journalists, career journalists know, that most people seem to be very confused and curious about, is how do we never run out of ideas? So there's an infinite quality when a journalist goes out and writes the story over and over and over and over again. We come at it from different angles, different ways of telling the same story, how a story evolves over a period of time. So journalists tend to know what is the meat of the story, what makes it a relevant story for the world. Because a journalist is trained to not be a content writer, a journalist is supposed to play the role of trust builder between the government and its citizens, between corporations and the consumers. Journalist is someone who builds the trust gap, and the trust gap is extremely high in the world right now. People don't trust political parties, people don't trust corporations, and at the same time, corporations and political parties are hiring journalists to teach them how to build trust, how to write, how to communicate, how to say what they need to say. At the same time, creators are doing an excellent job of entertaining and engaging with the audience. They're able to grab the attention and they're able to retain that attention for a significant period of time. So there are some people who've learned how to work with the attention economy, and there are some people who've learned how to build trust, and there are some people who know how to use writing, how to use words in any specific format to build businesses. Now, somewhere in the middle of this triangle is the person who believes in something, who has all the technology and the tools and the media available to them, and they have a vision, they care about the world, they have a purpose, they want to do something that makes the world better, they want to build trust with the audiences, they want to create communities, they feel strongly about credibility, about truth, about saying it over and over again, about bringing people together through these stories, but they don't like the theater of business. They don't like how creators are using attention economy to just get the person hooked like they're on crack or like some sort of illegal drugs. And that's not the right approach. Selling someone is also not the right approach. Being too verbose and critical and dense and research based and forgetting these is also not the right approach. What you need to do is bring the three together. That's where I come in, and that's the kind of lessons that I want to share with you. Now, how can you do that? I'll tell you some core lessons in this video. We'll go deeper into it in subsequent videos. But fundamentally, you have to know, let's assume you belong to this category. You're someone who cares, who's really good at the details. You know the data inside out, you know the technicality inside out. You're an academic, you're a professional, you're working with a think tank, you're helping not-for-profits, you are a social entrepreneur, you're actually committed to making the world a better place. You could be an artist. Essentially, you have some sort of a purpose, and that purpose is aligned to the human values of goodness, of justice, of sustainability, of empowerment, of making the world a safer, kinder place overall for everyone and bringing people together. But what you don't know is the attention bit. Now, the first thing I need you to do is start looking at the numbers. So I know I've been there and I share my personal story. I was extremely uncomfortable when the internet became popular, when people started talking about the TRPs and the views on a certain story and how much subscriptions they got, how many impressions they got, what kind of headline worked, A/B testing, all kinds of things that were leaning on attention, which were teaching people how to be clickbaity, how can be like a little drug peddler who's like trying to sell the wrong thing to the person and just getting them hooked but not giving them any real information. You're just pandering to the audience. That this person is actually like a people pleasing audience, like someone who's catering to the audience's whims by giving them what they want, and they're not really focusing on the research. So if you let go of these archetypes and imagine a world where we accept that the attention spans are extremely low. There's been news recently that film students are not able to focus on a film for 90 minutes to 3 hours. They are constantly looking at their phone. So there are two screens competing with each other all the time. Someone's looking at Reels or YouTube Shorts or TikTok or any other form of messages, emails, whatever's going on, texts, WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, while they're watching a movie. So you're constantly distracted. I'd say stop looking at the attention economy as a bad thing. Accept that it has happened. It's okay to accept it. That does not mean you will become clickbaity. That does not mean that you will become the kind of person who's only pandering to the audience, who does not care about the truth of it all. Like if you're a climate scientist and you know the intricacies of what it means to live through these times and what is awaiting us, or you're doing research on how electronic waste is rising or what is wrong in the trade agreements between various countries that are happening, or any way in which things are going wrong and the details of it. You could be a lawyer, you could be a human rights lawyer who knows in great detail what is not working. Once you start accepting that the attention economy is here, you start using it to your advantage. If you start looking at the views and don't get consumed by them, if you don't let them run your life, if you don't try to become this person but accept that there is something that the creator who understands attention economy has something to offer to you, you'll automatically become a more coherent communicator. You just start observing. Get into a meditative Buddha state, but start looking at the stats. All you have to do is just observe the stats. What responds how much? Like, start getting detailed statistics. Did someone start reading what you had to say? Did they drop off in 5 seconds, in 20 seconds, in 30 seconds? Did they read 5 sentences, 20 sentences, 30 sentences? When did they drop off? Once you start learning this and observing this without feeling strongly about what's going on and how horrible the world is and all the emotions that are going to rise in you, you'll be able to make your message a lot clearer and you'll be able to meet the audience somewhere in the middle. I'm not saying become this, that would do you a lot of damage. If you have a lot of credibility and trust and detail and nuance, you don't have to become an entertainer. You stick to your job as of an educator, of an activist, of a revolutionary, of a visionary, of someone who really cares, who has a purpose in their life, who has a purpose in their mind. And you start looking at these statistics. At some point, they will start informing how you respond, how you create, how you engage with the world, how you communicate. The second thing you could do if you're here is you start looking at the business of content. You start looking at how you could, what are the various formats and models that exist out there. There are coaches, there are educators that are using the tools of marketing, branding, and selling to build awareness around various subjects. You could be someone who's talking about violence against women, but you could learn from a marketeer on how to talk about it. And please, again, don't have strong feelings about any of this. Don't think, I know this is a fear that I had, like when I shifted from development journalism, environmental journalism, I was writing about the poorest of the poor going through some of the worst experiences you can imagine of injustice. And then when I started working with a subscriptions company that was based on that was offering business journalism, I was writing on healthcare. Some of my friends thought I was selling myself out. So the thing is, again, you're observing. You're observing the kind of campaigning that works. You're trying to observe what is loud, what is dramatic, what is performative, what kind of responses is it getting, how are people appearing, how are people receiving it, how is someone consuming that kind of a content? Is it actually leading to more profits, more revenue, more audiences? So once you start looking at these two categories of entertaining creator and a business storyteller whose only job is to sell and bring in more revenue, you will have, your mind will open to a million different ways of thinking about how you're communicating. So instead of being dry, you'd probably start using some of the attention economy lessons rather than not thinking about community building, of audience building, the number of people who are coming onto your platform. You will start engaging with the business side of things. Once you start doing this too, the way you connect with the world as it stands right now will become a lot more coherent. So instead of resisting the flow, you start observing the flow. Observe the difference in what I'm saying. I'm not asking you to become an entertainer. I'm not asking you to become a business storyteller and a marketeer. I'm not asking you to be heartless. I'm not asking you to be thoughtless. I'm not asking you to let go of your ethics. All I'm asking you right now is just observe. There's a lot that you will find. You will find that people have stopped trusting the traditional business storytelling. You'll realize that people are really smart. There's a lot that you will learn from the observation of how business storytellers are creating, how entertainers are creating, and you will start bringing in certain learnings into your own storytelling. Thank you.